Thanks, Don. So I come from a very different Washington. I call it Mordor on the Potomac. You don't smell ganja in the air, you smell sulfur, right? And so it's a different political reality. I'm not going to talk about the politics of drug policy in the West Coast, much less in Seattle, where you have a very different world than exists in much of the rest of the country. But I want to talk about how politics gets done in the other Washington, and why it is that it's so difficult to get any kind of meaningful reforms initialized. And there is a dirty little secret in Washington. There's one discourse that goes on in public, and when it comes to voting time and all that stuff, and when the doors are closed, and I've been doing this for 13 years now, talking to members of Congress and their staff, when they're behind closed doors, the whispering starts. So what do you think about taxation and legalization and regulation and decriminalization? And I've heard this from Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals, and they always talk about it like they're the first ones who ever raised that question. They're so deeply closeted in so many ways. It's kind of like going to a convention of closeted gay Mormons. They're all terrified that everyone else in the room will find out they're the same as everyone else. And so one of the things I'm trying to do is figure out how do you depolarize what has been traditionally a third rail, or the mother of all third rail political issues in politics. That is the drug war. Third rail, are people familiar with the term third rail? It comes from the subway system, right? Two rails carry the train, the third rail carries the high voltage. If you touch it, you're dead politically. So historically, third rail issues have been abortion, gay marriage, aid to Israel, gun control, Pentagon budget, and drugs and crime. And so what I'm trying to do is figure out a way to depolarize that third rail. How do you get politicians to say in public what they say in private? And in so doing, I think there's one technique. It's very counterintuitive that may work. And you could try this not just at the national level, but at the state and municipal level with associations, conventions, whether it's a convention of the chiefs of police or whatever. It's a way to help people come out of the closet slowly and dip their toes in the water. And that has to do with accountability. It's going to sound heretical, but I think there's too much accountability in Washington right now. And I think you might get more responsive policies if you had temporarily less accountability. What do I mean by that? Oscar Wilde once said, if you want a man to tell the truth, give him a mask. Is there a way we can give our politicians a temporary mask, a non-binding mask, where they can express their views as in a confessional without risk of being attacked outright? The Prime Minister of Luxembourg was talking about a different third rail issue at home, but he said, look, we all know what needs to be done, but we just don't know how to get reelected after we've done it. This is the problem, right? And the problem can be framed, I think Bart Simpson put it very well. When Bart Simpson ran for class president, he ran by attacking his opponent. And he said, my opponent says there are no easy answers. Well, I say he's not looking hard enough. That's the problem in Washington. People are looking for easy answers. Politicians think voters will only understand simple, short solutions. And if drugs are bad, of course you have to have a war on drugs. If you're broke, you can't have deficit spending. You can't have a stimulus package. It's counterintuitive to argue that you do the opposite might have a better effect. And so the way to do this then is to have a non-binding straw poll. That is to say, a procedural exercise. For 10 minutes, no one will know how you voted. Your party leadership won't know, your constituents won't know, your funders won't know, the lobbyists won't know, the nonprofits won't know, no one will know. And for those 10 minutes, for the first time in Washington, you will have the ability as an elected official to think what is really in the best interest of the United States, of this generation, of the next generation, of 7 generations down the line. Whose job is to look out for the bigger picture and to temporarily put partisan concerns aside. And that would allow them then to come out of the closet and express their views anonymously. And as long as one person votes in the opposite way, then no one can know that it wasn't you that did that. And so it's hard to game this in any kind of cynical way, but it's a way to get temporary honesty. And what that does is that if you had a straw poll in Congress that was non-binding, because it has to be non-binding, because the Constitution guarantees that if 1/5 of the quorum present demands a recorded vote, you have to have a recorded vote with names and who voted yes or no. But if you have this non-binding straw poll, and it turns out that 2/3 of Congress or 3/4 of Congress thinks we ought to decriminalize or tax and regulate, then just having that aggregate number at the end, 2/3 or 3/4, gives members of Congress some political capital. They can then come out during the recorded vote and say, look, I'm just being courageous. I'm actually saying in public what most of my colleagues believe in private, and it's time we had an open and honest discussion about this. If they want to present that as being courageous, I'll let them have it. It's a coward's way out. But it's a way for them to come out of that closet slowly without risking attack. And that jumpstarts, it leapfrogs the conversation. It's a way of manufacturing a tipping point, right? So if you imagine if you had the National Conference of the Chiefs of Police, and you did this anonymous straw poll at the beginning of their conference, and it was announced that 2/3 or 3/4 of the police chiefs here really believe that we've gone too far with the drug war. We need to reverse gears. We need to do some counterintuitive things and implement harm reduction, etc. That would really change the tenor of the conversation. But right now, they're all sitting up on the stage, closeted. And so it's a way for police chiefs, for other people in sensitive positions to come out of the closet. And that can really spark a different kind of conversation. It could save us years in terms of opening up the discussion. So that's what I'm going to do.